Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier for the BMF belt this weekend. I think Max Holloway is cooked. Here's why. So we've got UFC 318, a bit of a mid-card. I spoke about that in my last video. We've got a couple of good fights, but a lot of just random matchups that I feel like were thrown together last minute. And to be honest, I think the general consensus, at least for me, is the only real fight I'm looking forward to is the main event, Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. Obviously, this is a trilogy, and in my opinion, this fight is a complete coin flip. Both of these guys have a very similar style. It's boxing heavy. I think if you look at the surface level of this fight, it's very clear that Dustin Poirier has the advantages, especially given the fact that he's already won 2 of their previous fights. A lot of people are looking at this matchup and saying that, you know, their previous fight you can't really regard because it was 6 years ago. But when you really look at their fighting styles, not much has really changed in the way that they actually fight. But in my opinion, Dustin Poirier has slight advantages over Max Holloway that will get him the win this weekend. My biggest concern for Max Holloway is the fact that he just got knocked out, completely slept by Ilia Topuria around 8 months ago, and that was his most recent fight. Obviously, MMA is a game of like, you know, you're only as good as your last performance. Even though Max was doing quite well in that first round against Ilia, ultimately he got knocked out. The first time in his career, and we don't have anything to go off to see how he recovers from knockouts. There's been a lot of fighters in the past where, you know, they get knocked out for the first time and go downhill. We saw it with Tony Ferguson. Obviously that was a bit of a different story, you know, with the weight cuts and whatnot. Is it really? You know, when you look at it, Max Holloway fought Justin Gaethje at UFC 300 at lightweight and then had to cut back down to go to featherweight, and we already knew that he was having struggles with cutting weight. And especially when you look at the weigh-ins of that last fight, he did not look good at all, man. So the knockout mixed with the bad weight cut and then having to bulk back up to lightweight within an 8-month period, how is that going to affect him? One thing I think that people aren't looking at as well is I think the way that Max Holloway carries himself, especially since that Ilia Topuria fight. I think we all know Max is someone that's just straightforward, you know, very honest and gives credit where credit is due, but for whatever reason, he's been a little bit salty. And I think sometimes when we see fighters get a little bit salty, it's due to a lack of confidence. Obviously him coming off a knockout, you know, maybe his confidence has went down a little bit, but I just think the entire demeanor of Max Holloway has changed. I've seen him in interviews not really accepting the Ilia Topuria loss, or at least not accepting Ilia Topuria as just a better opponent. I don't know if that will have anything to do with his performance this weekend, but it's something worth noting. Now, when we look at the actual skill set of both fighters, I think one thing that tends to be really effective against Max Holloway is the leg kicks. We saw it with Jose Aldo, we saw it with Volkanovski a lot in the trilogy, and then we also saw it in the Ilia Topuria fight. We saw Ilia Topuria use those calf kicks when Max was kind of standing still or starting to pressure a little bit, and I think Dustin Poirier will 100% use those calf kicks to his advantage. I think these guys will stand toe-to-toe the whole fight. Obviously, there will be 0 takedowns, there will be 0 clinching. If there's even a second of clinch control time in this fight, the entire arena is just going to boo. So it's pretty obvious how this fight is going to go, but I think those calf kicks from Dustin Poirier will make a massive difference. People are looking at that Justin Gaethje fight as kind of a relic as to what will happen in this fight, but in my opinion, it's completely different. Not only did he just come off a knockout loss, Dustin Poirier is a smarter fighter, he's more tactical. His defense is a million miles better than Justin Gaethje. The only advantages that Max Holloway has against Dustin is his youth and his volume. I think that is one way that he could get ahead in this fight, is maybe trying to drag it out into the later rounds. We saw Dustin Poirier when he fought Islam Makhachev. He got quite tired in those later rounds, especially in round 4. Obviously with Max being younger and the fact that he's known for his volume rather than power. As Ilia Topuria says, he has pillow hands. But I think if Max Holloway wants a chance at winning this fight, he's definitely got to keep the fight at range. Instead of being on the back foot the whole time, I think he needs to use a lot of lateral movement and circle around Dustin, because we saw when he was put on the back foot against Ilia, he got trapped into the fence and KO'd. And like I said, Dustin and Ilia, very similar footwork, very similar kind of shell boxing style. That being said, I do think Max Holloway will come into this fight kick heavy as well. We saw him use those body kicks a lot against Ilia Topuria. And I think especially when you look at someone like Dustin Poirier, as good as his defense is, he got knocked out by Justin Gaethje with a head kick. Somehow. I've never seen Justin Gaethje lift his leg that high. Pause. But I think Max Holloway will definitely use those body kicks, especially just to slam those kicks against Dustin's arms. Will make him drop his guard and leave his head open, that P head of his. Going back to when Poirier fought Justin Gaethje the second time, Dustin was winning that fight until the KO. I think he was on track to win, whether by TKO or by decision. I also just think that Dustin Poirier, especially in this stage of his career, I think if you're thinking logically, he's the better fighter. He knows Max Holloway's fighting style down to a T. And not to mention Dustin Poirier's most recent fight against Islam Makhachev, the pound for pound number 1. He stood toe to toe with him. The only time that Dustin Poirier was really getting clipped by Islam was because he was being so cautious about the takedowns. Like I said, in this fight, there is zero risk of a takedown. I have more of a chance of taking down Dustin Poirier than Max Holloway. Obviously, they're different fighters, but I think if Dustin Poirier stood toe to toe with Islam in this stage of his career, he's going to piece up Max. I think Dustin's biggest key to victory in this fight is definitely by chopping up that leg of Max Holloway, limiting his movement, because we saw what Max was doing against Justin. He was just circling around him the entire fight. I think if Dustin gets in early and chops up that leg, it will limit his movement and then he can close the distance. I believe that Dustin will come in with a game plan to really attack the body as well of Max Holloway, because like I said, Max's biggest key is his cardio, and I think just chopping at that body will really affect him in those later rounds. Dustin Poirier's biggest strength is his ability to just hunt down his opponent and just cut off the cage, and I think if he does exactly what Ilia Topuria did, use those leg kicks, get Max Holloway to start backing up, march him down, and then cut off the cage and try to land a big left or right hook, or both. There is also the prophecy, and you know me, I fall for the prophecies all the time. Dustin Poirier has never lost 2 fights in a row, and I don't think that's going to start now for his retirement. So my final prediction is Dustin Poirier TKOs Max in round 4. I think just the accumulation of damage to his legs and to his body, Dustin Poirier will eventually land a big shot to the head. I don't think he'll knock him out cold. He's not BSD, and you never know, maybe we'll see Herb Dean come in with the people's elbow. But yeah, that's my prediction. Let me know what you guys think about this main event. I will be dropping a full main card prediction later this week, so make sure you guys do drop a like on this video and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.